Thanks for watching TechWiki. Click the subscribe button, then enable notifications with the bell icon so you won't miss any future videos. So chances are that unless you've got a huge mess of Ethernet cables running all over your house, you've got a wireless router that's in a corner somewhere dutifully flashing its little LEDs. And when you first set it up, you probably pretty much changed your Wi-Fi network to something clever, set a password, and then completely ignored the boatload of other settings in that overly complicated dashboard. But does it make sense to go digging around in these options? Well, while you don't want to blindly experiment like some kind of mad scientist, tweaking a handful of these dials can enhance your Wi-Fi experience. We don't have time to go over every setting you could conceivably want to change, but we'll cover some of the more important ones, starting with the things that affect security. You set up your password before, of course, but not all wireless encryption settings are the same. Older standards have broader compatibility with certain legacy devices, but I would strongly recommend that you switch to WPA2 AES encryption as soon as possible if you haven't already. Other options are just less secure. WEP in particular can be easily hacked by some malcontent parked outside your house with a laptop. And if they're up to something illegal, it is possible that law enforcement will come knocking on your door thinking that it was you. Many routers offer a guest network option. This way, visitors can use the internet, but they'll have no access to files and computers on your internal home network. This guest network can use a different password so that you won't have to share your main one, and you can even limit speeds and access time if you don't trust your friends to stay under your data cap. Anyway, you've secured your Wi-Fi to your liking now. Let's talk about performance. These days, most routers can broadcast on both the 2.4 and 5 GHz bands. If you want the fastest speeds possible, 5 GHz is the way to go, as it has larger bandwidth and is not as congested as 2.4, so less interference. However, 5 GHz has less range and may not be supported on older devices, so test your speeds before deciding to switch permanently. You may only notice a difference if you have a sufficiently fast internet connection anyhow. You'll also want to have a glance at your channel settings. A channel is simply a small slice within the wireless band that you chose, over which the data is actually transmitted. Most routers will pick a channel for you automatically, but if you're getting slower than expected speeds, a congested channel could be the culprit, especially if there are lots of other Wi-Fi networks in the area. A good idea is to use a Wi-Fi analysis app on your smartphone to see which channels are the clearest. Then, set the channel on your router accordingly. You can also select how wide you'd like your channel to be. Think of it kind of like picking how fat of a pipe you'd like your data to flow through. While a wider channel could potentially help performance, it only benefits devices that support the same channel width, and you'll also increase the possibility of interference with your neighbors, as your channel will overlap with more nearby traffic. So again, run yourself a speed test before committing to one setting, and use a lower channel width if the higher ones give you any problems. Now by now, you may have also noticed a mode option that presents you with a weird jumble of letters. Most new devices use either the N or AC Wi-Fi modes, so it's a good idea to have at least those two enabled. If you have a device, though, that isn't seeing your network at all, try enabling Wireless G. Some devices, notably including the Nintendo 3DS, use it instead of newer modes. So once you've gotten these sorts of internal networking settings the way you want them, you might want to also consider configuring your router to use a custom DNS server. You can learn more about DNS up here. But it's basically a set of servers that your system uses to look up the IP addresses of different websites so you'll be directed to the right place. Your internet service provider already provides you with a DNS service, but third-party DNS offerings, such as Google Public DNS, can offer enhanced speed and security, especially if you're noticing long delays between typing in a web address and seeing the page you want start to load. By setting a preferred DNS in your router settings, all traffic going through it will use that DNS instead of having to set it up individually on every device. And Pro tip, you can also do this with a VPN service, so that all your traffic will automatically be securely routed. Just refer to your VPN provider's website for which settings to use. Let's wrap things up then with one slightly more obscure setting. If you have two routers and are dealing with a weak signal, you can try using WDS, a feature that allows you to bridge two wireless networks wirelessly, which is kind of like using your router as a wireless repeater instead. But be cautioned that this can cut your speeds by up to 50%, so simply getting an additional access point and running a cable to it is usually the more practical option. Do you have 2 or 3 or 4 or even more computers you're trying to use at a time? Well, Synergy solved once and for all the problem of which keyboard and mouse goes to which one. So whether you're using Windows, Mac, Linux, or some combination of all three, it lets you take one keyboard and mouse and seamlessly control all of your machines. So maybe you've got like a render workstation that you only need to use to check on once in a while. Now you can use Synergy to just whip over there, fix up your queue, and then go back to whatever it is else that you were doing. It's a simple software solution, and it includes powerful features like clipboard sharing, dragging and dropping between computers, custom hotkeys, and more. And the Pro version is even available with SSL encryption to secure data between the computers. Synergy is offering a 50% discount to TechWiki viewers, so just click the link in the video description to check it out. So guys, have you customized any router settings we didn't mention? How'd that turn out for you? Let us know down in the comments, and also let us know if there are any other home Wi-Fi topics you'd like us to discuss here on TechWiki. Leave a like or a dislike, leave a comment if you have suggestions for just any other future comments, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos. And enable the bell too.